Hello and welcome to Action Playbook Live. I am Gilles Gallant with the Action Network, and you are watching the NFL pregame betting show here that we do every Sunday morning. We cover a lot. We got player props, touchdown bets, parlays. We're not just doing player props, though. We've got a lot to discuss about certain sides and totals. Nick Giffen, for example, he's going to join us to talk about the luck rankings for Week 15, which games we should be targeting for an edge. And of course, Evan Abrams, our director of research here at Action Network, will give us some of the latest betting trends and market moves for Week 15. But joining me off the hop are Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon. They're going to join me to give out our favorite prop for Week 15. And if you want to tail any of these bets that we give out, the easiest way is to use quick slips in the YouTube chat. We're going to be dropping links in the chat after every pick we make. This way you can tail the bet as quickly as possible. And we're also going to be on X and Twitter again. So if you're not watching on YouTube, you want to watch on social, you can check us out at Playbook. We'll be tweeting out our picks from the show. So you can watch us that way and follow Playbook, get the slips from there. One last thing, we just got to talk about Action Pro. If you want access to all of Action Pro projections, make sure to sign up for an annual subscription because access includes exclusive player prop picks from everyone here at Action and along with the anytime touchdown projection. So to sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today. Use code POD20 at sign up. One more time, that's POD20 for $20 off. Okay. Kerner, we start with you, and I believe you have a player prop for the Ravens-Bengals game. What are we doing?
All right, so this is a fun one. I'm going to go with Keaton Mitchell over 19 and a half rushing yards. I grabbed this at 16 and a half yesterday, still like it at 19 and a half. I'm projecting this closer to 23 and a half with, obviously a ton of upside. But, Mitchell's obviously not going to get a ton of work being Derrick Henry's backup of all people. But Mitchell has been one of the most explosive efficient backs in his first 3 years in the league. He's averaging 7 yards a carry. And last week, he went for 76 yards on just 6 carries. Then he had to leave the game early in the third quarter. So he only played like half the game to get to that stat line. So he was going to have an even bigger day. And it looks like the knee injury is fine. He wasn't even on the injury report. So it seemed like more precautionary than anything. But today is a great matchup for him against the Bengals. He bounces 75% of his runs outside. He's not trying to pick up just a yard or two inside. That's Derrick Henry's job. He's looking to make a huge run every time he gets the ball. And those are the type of runs the Bengals actually struggle against. And, they've allowed just under 2 yards before contact per carry, which is bottom four worst rate in the league. And anytime Mitchell gets 2+ yards of cushion before contact, he's averaging over 11 yards per carry, which is the third highest rate in the league for backs that have 10 plus carries. I'm projecting him just around 4 to 5 touches here, but he could do a lot of damage on those touches. I just needed him to like break one carry, for an explosive run, and he'll clear this. But I also took some of his alt overs. I took 40 plus around plus 550. So I think we can have some fun with this and, ladder it up or take some alt overs just because he has so much upside here.
Well, and there's lots of ways it seems like to attack this Bengals defense. And since Justice Hill went down, obviously, I think Keaton Mitchell's role has definitely increased. So, yeah, Keaton Mitchell to have 20 plus rushing yards against this Bengals defense. So that would be Kerner's first prop. We are now moving over to Raybon. We're looking at the Rams-Lions game. What are we doing here?
Yeah, we're going with Terrence Ferguson over 6.5 receiving yards. It's getting ridiculous with Ferguson. He's just way too talented to go. I think it's 4 straight games now without a catch. And he ran a season high 14 routes last week. And now going up against the Lions, their starting safeties are both out. The Rams are playing a ton of 1-3 personnel, which includes Ferguson. And the Lions play some of the most base defense in the league, with 3 linebackers. So there's going to be a lot of mismatches for Ferguson, who has a huge A dot this year. That's why he's been getting targeted at least once each of the last 3 games. 0 catches on 4 targets. But if he gets 1 catch, he's almost certainly going over this, probably double or triple. His average depth of target is, north of 20 this season. Very talented rookie, averaging 27.6 yards per catch. So this is a guy, it's low enough that you could think of laddering it almost to the moon pretty much, because he can break a huge play here. And I think against the Lions, he'll finally get a catch. So 6.5 is nothing, but his market is depressed because he's just been getting some low percentage looks down the field, but he's going to get a catch sooner or later. I like it to happen today.
Well, and what's funny about Ferguson is since Higbee went down, I'm pretty sure we gave out his touchdown prop like every week, and he just hasn't gotten to those targets at all. So, kudos to you for keeping the tradition going and getting some sort of Ferguson content here on the show. So, Terrence Ferguson over 6.5 receiving yards. That is Raybon's prop. Keaton Mitchell over 19.5 rushing yards. That is Sean Kerner's prop. I am looking at this Patriots Bills game. And I'm going to take Drake May to throw an interception, guys. He's around plus 130. He's got 6 interceptions this year, 4 in home games. And this might be the toughest opponent he's faced in a while. If you look at the most recent schedule, the Bucks, Jets, Giants, Bengals, they're all pretty weak defending the pass. And he still threw an interception in 2 of those 4 games. And unlike those 4 teams, the Bills, they can actually generate a little bit of pressure. They rank in the top 10, and we've seen them get some timely turnovers, like last week against the Bengals, 2 interceptions just in back-to-back plays, it felt like. But the Bills also are bottom 8 rather in blitz rate per dropback. And you look at May's turnover worthy plays this year, he has 13. 11 of them have come when he wasn't blitzed, and more than 50% of them have come when he is pressured. So I feel like at plus 130, I feel like the sportsbooks are still pricing this like as if May is facing the Jets. And I just think this is a perfect time to grab it when the market is very soft on that. So Drake May interception, that is who I'm going to take at plus 130. Now, normally I like to do a favorite touchdown bet of the week here, but again, I'm saving those for the end of the show. We'll have more as we go, though. Raybon will join me at the end of the show to give out more touchdown props. Grant Neefer is going to be joining us in a bit. He's got a lotto parlay, and of course, as I said, Kerner will probably join us here in a little bit for a triple crown market. So Raybon, Kerner, why don't you guys take a quick break, and let's now talk with Derek Carty and see what player props he likes for Week 15. We now welcome back to Action Playbook Live for Week 15. Derek Carty, creator of the Blitz projections for the NFL. You can follow him in the Action app at Derek Carty. It's all one word. And remember, he's going to have 2 player props today as we give them out. Quick slip links are going to be dropped in the YouTube chat. That way you can grab these lines as soon as possible because they may move as Derek gives them out. And Derek, we are starting with we just talked about this of whether or not some people might think this is an ugly bet or maybe the most genius bet of all time. What are we doing here for this first pick?
I'm looking at Phillip Rivers over 16.5 completions, minus 101 at DraftKings is the best line on the board right now. I feel like people are going to see this as ugly because, I mean, he's Phillip Rivers. He's old. He hasn't thrown a pass in, 5-6 years in an NFL context. Like, it's just, there's so much stacked against him. He's facing a good Seattle defense. But I think the line is too low, as it often is on these, quote unquote, bad quarterback overs. The Blitz is projecting 19.3 completions here for him. And we don't even know for sure how bad he is. Like, this is still one of the elite signal callers, not in terms of arm strength or anything anymore, but he can see the field, he can read coverages. Phillip Rivers is still really good in some aspects of football. Plus he has a great offense around him, great supporting cast. So I think they set this line too low for him. I'm taking the over.
Yeah, sometimes uncertainty like that, like you said, we don't know how he's going to look. The uncertainty can provide opportunity like that to be able to get a line that might be shaded down in the market like that. And I would also say too, even the touchdown props in this game on the Colts side, I love a lot of the value on guys like, Michael Pittman
Yes.
and Tyler Warren. So very interesting to see how this game will play out. But Phillip Rivers to have 17 or more completions in that game against Seattle, that is Derek's first pick. What are we doing with the second one?
Second one I'm looking at is Amari DiMercato, under 1.5 receptions, plus 145 is the best odds right now over at Bet365, but it's within 10 or 15 points pretty much everywhere, and I love it everywhere. The Blitz is projecting 1.2 here, so it's already projecting under, and we're getting good plus value at every single sports book. 67% projected chance of going under here. This is another one where there's lots of uncertainty. And it's very possible that I'm off on it because of that uncertainty. But I just think there's too many routes for him not to get over this number, where it's just too appealing for me not to take. So he's coming off injury. This is his first game played in, I don't know, 7-8 weeks, something like that. So there's the chance that he gets eased back in. There's the chance that he's come back too soon and he gets re-injured. There's the chance that even now that he's basically when he was playing before, it was mostly when James Conner or Trey Benson was still healthy. So his role was pretty small. So I think there's an expectation that, okay, now that he's back and James Conner and Trey Benson are out of the picture, he's going to have this new role. It's going to be this bigger role. Well, what if his role is the same? What if he doesn't have a bigger role? There's just so many ways for him not to get there, especially against the tough Houston defense, that if you're going to give me +1, plus anything, any plus money at all, I'm going to take this one.
Well, and Jacoby Brissett doesn't really profile as that type of quarterback who checks down a lot, right? He's really trying to push it down the seams, get it to Trey McBride, get it to Michael Wilson. So, yeah, and then just the fact with Michael Carter and Zonovan Knight, Bam Knight rather, still in that backfield, I'm not sure how he's going to be able to get to 2 receptions. And then the fact you're getting it at plus odds too, so that's even better from a value standpoint. So again, 2 picks from Derek today. You're on Amari DeMarcado under 1.5 receptions. You can get that at plus 145. And you're taking the old man, Philip Rivers, to have 17 or more completions against that Seahawks defense. So make sure to follow Derek in the Action app at Derek Hardy. He is part of the Blitz projections for the NFL. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on Action Island soon enough.
Thanks so much.
We now welcome in Dr. Nick Giffen, the creator of the Luck Rankings. You can read up on this every week in the Action app, where he lists the luckiest or unluckiest NFL teams based on what we saw on the field. The Packers and Raiders covered last week, so great job on that. And I still feel like, Nick, we should take I know it lost, but I still feel like it was the right side of taking Bengals Bills on the under, because I feel like that was on its way to go under until we saw like freaking 5 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. There's 8 minutes to go. I feel like it was trending low. And then this week we've done well as well. How have we done this week so far with Luck Rankings?
Yeah, Thursday Night Football was a luck side on the Atlanta Falcons, and not only did they cover the +6, they won outright. And earlier this week, I also tracked in the Action app the Las Vegas Raiders to cover versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I took it at 11.5. There's 12.5s out there. I still love that. I don't care that Kenny Pickett's the quarterback. That might not even be a downgrade from Geno Smith the way he's played the second half of this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to note too that the luck rankings, at least the records, they're graded based on closing lines. So you could still go out there and get that Raiders line if you want to play the luck side. But we move to another AFC West match, or not AFC West, but AFC West teams. And first pick is going with this Chiefs Chargers game. What are we doing?
Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs are the unlucky team here in this Chiefs Chargers matchup. There's still some -5.5s available, so definitely grab that. 6 can be kind of a secondary key number, but this game has a luck score of 1.75, so that's 1.75 standard deviations above no luck. That gives us a C grade, 56.5% luck-based cover probability, which is, games with this luck score tend to cover at that rate. Luck sides as a whole this season, 24-15 for the unlucky team against the spread. That's 61.5%. And if we go all the way back to 2018 and just looks at weeks 13 through 16, one of the big sweet spots for the luck sides, 41-15-1. That's 73.2% against the spread in that week 13 to 16 window. And that includes 4-1 already this year, because they were 3-0 last week and 1-1 in week 13. Our schedule adjusted expected scores make this Kansas City -5.25, so not quite -5.5, but that's including the full year's worth of data. That includes when they had Joe Alt, when they had a healthy Herbert, healthy Quentin Johnston. Well, no Joe Alt. This Los Angeles Chargers offensive line is in shambles. Obviously, Justin Herbert still being affected by that left hand injury. So I definitely can get to that key number of 6 here with Kansas City once you make those adjustments.
For sure. And it feels like a letdown spot too after, that huge upset win over the Eagles. But before we move on to the next pick, it does feel funny just calling the Chiefs an unlucky team. I don't know why. But just in general, the history that we have with that team. But Chiefs -5.5, that is the first luck rankings pick. Where are we going with the second one, man?
Second one, we are going to the Cleveland Browns against the Chicago Bears. This is +7.5 for the unlucky Cleveland Browns. This has a luck score almost 2.0, 1.95. That gives us a B grade with a 58% luck-based cover probability. If we look at the Browns' expected score, and again, expected score is what powers our luck rankings. It says what the game would have been had these two teams replayed the game on the same day over and over and over again in the same situations. Well, expected score with Joe Flacco was 14.1 points per game. Gabriel, 15.8. But with Shadur Sanders, the Browns have had an expected score of 19.3 points per game. And of the three quarterbacks, Shadur Sanders so far has had the highest passing success rate and the highest passing explosiveness. And that's one of the things that's very important in terms of driving scoring is being able to pass the ball. So our schedule adjusted expected scores with the Bears getting a 10% bonus in their passing game because I am giving Caleb Williams bonus for all the Browns man heavy use that they have, still makes this plus 6.5. So we're on the other side of that key number of 7. So we're getting the hook here at 7.5, and I'm making this 6.5.
It's interesting too the way the luck rankings play. The only reason I say this is because like the Browns, they're coming off a win over the Titans, and
Yeah.
the Bears. You know what I mean? It almost you would think that they would be the unlucky team based on that they were almost this close to winning that Packers game until that interception there, or at least tying it rather. So I just find it interesting just from an expected score standpoint. But Cleveland right now, you're getting a really good number at plus 7.5 against the Bears. Now in the afternoon slate, the question I wanted to ask you is there's a lot of good matchups this week, but I might be most intrigued by this Broncos Packers game. How are we playing that from a luck ranking standpoint?
Yeah, this one is Green Bay as the unlucky team. And it's mostly not because they're unlucky. They're like right mid-pack in the middle of the luck rankings. But the Denver Broncos are the number one team in our luck rankings. They've been the luckiest team in the NFL through 14 weeks. So Green Bay -1 right now. You can get out there. So pretty much all they have to do is win, and this side will cover. This one has a luck score of 1.47, so just barely past our 1.454 threshold. That gives us a D grade. So now it might sound bad, but D grades from weeks 13 through the Super Bowl kick ass. They are 14-3-1 against the spread. The unlucky team is in the D graded games. That's 82.4%. So for some reason, the D grades go off this time of year. So don't worry about the fact that this is a D graded luck side. I like Green Bay here. Bo Nix, he struggles versus zone coverage, and Green Bay plays the third most zone in the NFL. And Jordan Love has been great versus man coverage. Denver plays man coverage at a top 5 rate. So just a lot of the matchup schematics here as well favor the Green Bay passing game over the Broncos passing game.
And I'm glad that the eye test is matching up with the data that we can both agree that the Broncos are like the luckiest team in the NFL right now. I just can't believe that they're on this kind of win streak here. So Green Bay -1, that would go well with my Bo Nix interception bet as well. So just hopefully those will both correlate. So again, the 3 luck rankings picks from Nick this week. He's on Chiefs -5.5 to cover against the Chargers, Cleveland +7.5 against the Bears, and Green Bay -1 versus the Broncos. So that is the luck rankings with Dr. Nick Giffen. Make sure to follow him on the Action app at Nick_Giffen. Also, make sure to join the Action Network Discord for the Bet What Happens live shows that go at halftime at the 2-minute warning for all the primetime games. Grant Neefer also joins you as well. That's in the Action Network Discord. So Nick, thanks a lot. We'll see you again on Action Island soon enough.
Good luck, everyone.
All right, we now welcome in our Director of Research, Evan Abrams. He's got the latest betting trends and data. You can check out his weekly betting primer on the Action Network app for all the info you need going into Week 15. He also has it posted on his X and Twitter profile if you are on social media. So, Evan, I think we just got to start with this Colts-Seahawks game. How is the market reacting to Phillip Rivers starting in an NFL game today?
Yeah, this was an easy one to talk off the top. If you want weather, go check out Kevin Roth. Today, it's all about Phillip Rivers. 13.5-point underdogs in Seattle, which, funny enough, wouldn't be Phillip Rivers' biggest line as an underdog in his career. He was plus 14 against the Patriots in the 2007 AFC title game against Tom Brady, where Rivers famously had torn ACL and meniscus in his right knee. Now, the injury he'd sustained was actually in the divisional round, of course, against the Colts. So we do come full circle in that sense. And when you look at the markets today, we basically have 50-50 tickets on that game. So people definitely interested in the 13.5 with Indianapolis. And of course, Phillip Rivers sitting here at 12-1 to win Comeback Player of the Year. Third option without even playing it down. Can't wait to see what happens today. So that is the Phillip Rivers story. But across the NFL, Jill, we also have a ton of kind of outliers. Stafford right now in the Rams, 23% of tickets against the Lions. Lowest since 2019, lowest as a Ram. Lamar Jackson against the Bengals, 27% of tickets right now. 26 would be the lowest in his career. Mahomes, 28% of tickets against the Chargers. Under 33%, he is 3-0 in his career. So when you doubt Mahomes, things don't tend to go well. We'll see how that goes today. And then here's the great one. We've been talking about this one all week, but the Eagles game against the Raiders now at minus 12.5, now all the way down to 37.5. That would be the highest spread, lowest total since Kendall Hinton back in 2020. We all remember that.
The Broncos, yeah.
Correct. So
right, I remember that
market
game.
stuff today. It's crazy.
That was against the Saints too. I think.
Yep.
I think Taysom Hill might have even been starting that game too. Yeah, it's really interesting to see how the market is down on certain teams and quarterbacks like the Ravens and the Chiefs, but the Rams one doesn't really make sense to me. Just given like how well they played this year, maybe just feeling the Lions vibe as well from a market
A
standpoint.
a lot of points as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I want to talk about the more higher profile matchups, like the Broncos and Packers and the Patriots and the Bills. Are we seeing anything from a market standpoint, or is there any trends that might even be standing out with these matchups?
This one is just more interesting than anything else. So the Broncos sitting here at plus 1.5 now, down from 2.5 as home dogs versus the Packers. Patriots now up to plus 2.5 at home against Buffalo. Now, both teams sitting here at 10-game win streaks entering this week. Since 1980, we've only seen 3 home underdogs on a 10-plus game win streak, but only one featured both starting quarterbacks in the lineup. The 2005 AFC Championship game in Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady. Pittsburgh closed plus 2.5 on a massive win streak and lost outright 41-27. But this is how rare it is. We might get 2 of those games today. We've only seen 1 since 1980. So honestly, when I wrote the primer this week and doing all this types of content, this is one of the crazier weeks I can remember.
Even when he's retired, we cannot escape Tom Brady. You know what I mean? We have to talk about him. You know, just the fact that with the Chargers or with Phillip Rivers, and then, of course, the Roethlisberger. I know, and he's going to continue to be. I mean, you could even mention the Raiders ownership if you wanted to. But all right, you use Bet Labs a lot, and then there's a lot of awesome systems that you can use to be able to find key trends or ways to attack the market. What is the Bet Labs pick of the week this time?
Yeah, there's a lot of action in there. They've got parlays, straights. I'm plucking one out. We're circling the wagons. They like the Bills. I like the Bills. I think it fits. This trend and the system you could look at, teams on an 8+ game win streak, they become fat and happy. They're 40-64 against the spread since 2010, 500 or worse against the spread in 11 of the last 12 seasons. They're 1-3 this year. This works for obviously both of those games, but we're looking at Buffalo and the market's moving up as well. So Bills money line, let's circle the wagons, baby.
The fat and happy system, a lifestyle I would love to live by. All right. All right, Evan, thanks a lot for joining us. Make sure to check out Evan's weekly betting primer. That's on X and Twitter and in the Action Network app. Also, he's going to be live tonight again with Brandon Anderson for the Week 15 recap show on the Action Network podcast feed and Action Network YouTube. Evan, thanks a lot. We'll see you again next week, man.
Of course, enjoy, Joe.
All right, let's take it up a notch. It's time to hit the lottos where we get a bit crazy. I try to find some plus EV parlays, and I get the 2 best people that I could think of to help me find these kinds of markets. And joining me first is Grant Nefer from Scores and Odds. You can find him as well in the Parlay Science Discord. He co-hosts Bet What Happens Live with Dr. Nick Giffen, of course. And then you've got Sean Kerner. He's always finding long shot markets like Triple Crown, sack props. So let's start with Grant. What are we going to do for a Week 15 lotto parlay?
Yeah, so we got a full day sweat. One leg in the morning games, one game in the afternoon games, and one part of it in the night game. 114-1 over at Bet365, or you can get around plus 110 or 110-1 over at FanDuel or DK if you use those boosts. First leg, Isaiah Likely, 80+ receiving yards. Now, Bengals have been historically bad versus the tight end this year. And just looking at the recent game logs, you can see some ridiculous scores. So Bills, Dawson Knox had 90 receiving yards. Ravens likely had 90 receiving yards. Patriots, Hunter Henry had 110+. Steelers, Washington had 60+. Bears, Colston Loveland, 114 yards. So the last 5 games, they've been absolutely destroyed on the season. 33.3% of opposing targets are going to the tight ends. The volume will be there. If you want to take Andrews, that's fine. I'm not going to lie. I laddered both of them all the way up to 100 yards, but I like likely better in this. I think there's a little bit more upside with it. Bengals are just so bad versus the tight end. Great odds at plus 650. Next up, Jared Goff in the afternoon games. I'm just going with his regular line. Over 256 and a half passing yards. Going to be a high scoring game. It's being played in a dome, which we know Goff does well in. The Rams defense has been good this season, but Goff likely going to be in a throwing game script, being a decent dog in this one. Line is just a bit too low. And lastly, a guy who's burned me many times before, but I'm still going right back to the well. JJ McCarthy, 275 plus receiving yards. You can get this around plus 600, plus 650. McCarthy actually looked good last week. I was surprised, but he actually looked pretty decent. KOC dumbed down the offense for him. We already know he has great receiving weapons. JJ, he has Addison, he has Hawkinson. He has a lot of guys to throw to. Going up against the Dallas defense that has been better in recent weeks, but still allowing the most passing yards on the season. Big dog in this spot. McCarthy going to be forced to throw, which no one wants to see, but it's just got to happen. So 275 plus receipt or passing yards. You can get that around plus 600. Parlay all 3 of them together, 110 to 1 odds, especially if you use the boost over on DK or if you just use it over at Bet365. So that's it. It's going to be a fun one. Just waiting for both the first legs to hit and JJ McCarthy to destroy my dreams.
Well, and I was about to say my biggest takeaway from this parlay is like I really admire your commitment to the bit of continuing to back the Vikings pass game because it's just been so difficult sometimes to feel good about it. But at the same time, the odds right now for getting like something like 275 passing yards, like plus 580, that's really hard to pass up.
Well, this is the spot. Like, this is the spot. It's against Dallas. Last week, I thought it was great. Guess what? He didn't have to throw in the second half. They were up
That's
so
true.
big. Like, he actually has a good matchup here in a spot where he's going to be forced to throw. I assumed that with Daniels back last week, he would be forced to throw, but nope. Vikings just random 30-point game where they don't even allow Washington to score. Things happen. It's football. This week, though, I don't see many ways that they're not at least forced to throw at a decent rate here.
Well, and against that pass defense, if there's ever a time that you'd want to back it, it would have to be in this matchup because if he can't do it in this matchup, I'm not sure where we go with JJ McCarthy at that point. So again,
Oh, if he doesn't hit here, I'm done forever.
yeah, we have to bail, I think, at that point. So Isaiah Likely, 80 plus receiving yards with Jared Goff over 256 and a half passing yards. And to round it out, JJ McCarthy, 275 passing yards. You can get that parlay at 104 to 1 at FanDuel with some boosted odds or 113 to 1 at Bet365. All right, Kerner, you're up. And we've given out some Triple Crown props over the last few weeks. And I feel like we're just this close. We're this close. Like every time, like
Yeah.
it's just one little thing. Like, so what are we doing for a Triple Crown today?
Yeah, last week was brutal because we got the hard part out of the way with Blake Corum leading the game in rushing yards. But yeah, that one was close. So hopefully, we'll have another sweat here. But this one's pretty crazy, and I'm going to the Ravens Bengals game. And I'm going with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase to lead the game in passing and receiving yards,
Okay.
respectively. Pretty self-explanatory. I don't think I need to explain why. And instead of going with, Derrick Henry, the clear favorite to lead in rushing yards, to make this a 2-to-1 parlay, I'm going to throw my guy Keaton Mitchell to spice it up, which makes it 87 to 1. But I already explained how Keaton Mitchell tends to
Yeah.
get a ton of yards on limited work. This is a great spot for him. And if he does happen to riff off, a couple long runs, that's going to eat into Henry's workload directly. And Mitchell's rushed for over 138 yards on 9 carries once in his career, 73 yards. Last week, 76 yards in just half the game. So he has that kind of upside you need in this market. And it's kind of a reverse correlation with Henry when he does get a ton of yards. So that makes this, a true long shot at 87 to 1. If you want a more rational approach to this, you could take Burrow and Chase to lead the game in, their yardage markets, which again sets up a perfect game script for Mitchell to get a ton of rushing yards. And just go with Mitchell 40 plus rushing yards for around 9-1. Someone did that last week with my Triple Crown. Instead of taking Michael Wilson to lead the game in receiving yards and worry about Puka Nakua, they just took him, plus over 100 yards,
Mhm.
and were able to cash. So it's just kind of a unique way to do this, where it's more likely and 9-1. But I'm going to stick with the full, Keaton Mitchell lead the game in rushing yards for 87-1 here.
Yeah, and Mitchell is obviously the heavy lifter of this parlay, so I think we can agree on that. And we know that Joe Burrow is just going to spam Jamar Chase with like 10 plus targets. So if he breaks a couple, I feel like pretty comfortable of those two legs. So yeah, Keaton Mitchell 86-1 for a triple crown parlay. So Jamar Chase to lead the game in receiving, Keaton Mitchell to lead the game in rushing, Joe Burrow to lead the game in passing. That is 86-1. Or like you said, you could take the less risky approach, maybe a little bit more rational approach, just take him to lead the game in rushing yards at 12-1. All right, so that's the Lotto parlay from Grant. We got the Triple Crown parlay from Sean. We just dropped quick slip links in the YouTube chat if you want to tail either of those parlays. So then it'll just save you some time, so you don't have to, try to build it out, find the different menus and whatnot. So Grant, thanks for coming on. Keep crushing it. We'll see you back on Action Island soon enough and bet what happens live. All right, Kerner, let's get Raybon back on here. I want to talk about Sunday Night Football and the Vikings and the Cowboys. Cowboys home favorites around 5.5, 4.5, over under of 47.5. Oh no. Oh, Gabe Davis is inactive. Damn it. All right, sorry. I'm just finding out some information as we go. Gabe Davis inactive. Christian Benford is out for the Bills as well. Okay, all right. Well, we'll figure that out. But as we go, let's talk about Vikings Cowboys. Same game parlay. So Cowboys 5.5, 47.5 total. Kerner, we had a touchdown parlay for this when we did the touchdown show. I'm just curious, are you going to stick with your touchdown prop you gave out, or is there another prop you're interested in?
Yeah, I still like Jordan Mason at plus 210. This is still one of the top edges in our touchdown prop tool. Nearly went with Ben Sims at 28-1. I think that's worth a sprinkle, but I'm not going to muck up our parlay with him. So I'm going to stick with Mason here at plus 210. But, we saw last week the Vikings offense was functional with JJ McCarthy back under the saddle. So I think, they'll be able to put up some points here against a vulnerable Cowboys defense. And we've seen, Mason see a little bit more, short yardage goal line work over Aaron Jones lately. He had the 8-yard rushing touchdown last week. And on Josh Oliver's second touchdown, it was first and goal from the 6. Mason was in there, so they could have given him the ball, and he potentially could have scored another touchdown. So this is the specific market I like Mason in, projecting him closer to plus 180. So I like the value we're getting here at plus 210.
All right, Jordan Mason is the first pick. I like a Viking as well, but I'm going to take Jordan Addison. Only 3 touchdowns this year. It's been a bit of a rough year overall for the Vikings pass offense. I mean, we talked about it with Grant, but again, this should be a matchup where both he and Jefferson, for that matter, should be able to do well. The Cowboys have allowed the most touchdowns of wide receivers this year, 5 in just the last 3 games. They're 30th in defensive DVOA versus the pass, last versus the deep ball. So that kind of just, to me, lines up for Addison, who leads the team in ADOT and deep targets. So I'm going to take, that's who I'm going to take. I'm going to take Jordan Addison. Raybon, what are you thinking for this game? Do you think you want to go with a touchdown prop, or are you looking at maybe a side total?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could go with a few touchdowns like that. I like Justin Jefferson. I like Javonte Williams, but I'm going to go with Vikings plus 5.5 here because there's not as much difference between these two teams as you would think. Even with the Brosmer 26-0 shutout included in their numbers, the Vikings are just one spot behind the Cowboys in weighted DVOA, 4 spots in overall DVOA. And this Vikings team, top 10 on defense, top 10 on special teams. It's really been about the offense. And if McCarthy can play like that, again, which I think he can, because Washington's defense is terrible. And the Cowboys statistically are even worse. The Cowboys are one of the few defenses worse in DVOA overall and then worse against the pass. So this is another matchup for McCarthy. The Cowboys give up the most EPA in the entire National Football League to 1-1 personnel. And that's the one thing that they didn't really get going last week against Washington. They went to a lot more heavy personnel that did help out, but their bread and butter is still, getting Addison, Jefferson, Jalen Nair on the field together and, throwing out a 1-1. And they can probably do that against the Dallas Cowboys. So I think this is a good spot. Also, first time all year, McCarthy or any Viking quarterback, got to play with their intended starting 5 offensive line, which is one of the best units in the league, along with their blocking tight end Oliver, along with their blocking back CJ Ham. Like, everyone's been hurt for this team, and their defense hasn't even allowed 300 yards over the last 3 weeks. They held the Packers to well below their season average, even in a loss. Washington well below as well. So I think this is a sneaky team. It could obviously go terribly wrong, but this Cowboys defense has gone terribly wrong. It has gotten better, but I think it's more against a run, with Quinnen Williams. Teams are kind of avoiding running at him a little bit, but they're still very bad through the air.
And you brought this up too about the Vikings defense, just as far as having allowed a touchdown to a tight end in probably 4 or 5 games, a wide receiver, same stretch, right? And Dak, to his credit, is much better against man defense than zone. And obviously, I think we're going to see a lot of that from the Vikings. And then, of course, a ton of blitz from Brian Flores. So we are doing a very Viking-centric parlay for Sunday Night Football. We're going to take Jordan Addison for a touchdown, Jordan Mason for a touchdown, and Vikings plus 5.5. You do that parlay at FanDuel, you can get that just around plus 1245, so 12 to 1-ish, around there. So that's going to be the parlay for Sunday Night Football. We just dropped the link in the YouTube chat. If you want to tail that parlay, you can get that added to your bet slip. All right, Kerner, you're off the hook, man. So we'll see you next week. Fantasy Flex podcast, also Touchdown Show podcast, myself and Raybon and yourself. We do that every Thursday, and we give out touchdown bets for every game, so we'll be doing that for week 16 and the remainder of the season in the playoffs. So, Raybon, you're up, man. It's time to do some touchdowns. So it's time for the Touchdown Show. And as always, I wanted to keep the Touchdown Show tradition going. We got Chris Raybon here. He's going to help me give out some touchdown props. We had to pivot there real quick. I don't know if people noticed when I was talking about Gabe Davis, because both Raybon and I really liked Gabe Davis this week. Well, he just got ruled inactive, so we had to pivot there and find a new pick here. So we got a new pick in place. So as always, we're going to start off with our format of mild, medium, spicy. So we start off with the lowest odds, work our way up, and then we'll have an anytime touchdown parlay to round it out. So Raybon, why don't you get us started? What do you like for a touchdown prop this week?
Let's start off with Isaiah Likely, around plus 240. He should have 3 touchdowns over the past 2 weeks. Somehow he only has 1. And he's going up against the magic formula for tight ends, which is the Bengals defense. They allow 6 more receiving touchdowns to tight ends than any other defense in the National Football League. They have just been getting gashed by tight ends all year long. Likely, I think, could put up a big number here. I know Mark Andrews just got the deal, but I think Likely's been looking better as of late. And Lamar Jackson's starting to rely on him a little bit more. So, again, he should have 3 touchdowns just in the past 2 weeks alone. Very critical divisional matchup. And the Bengals really show no signs of slowing down tight end. So love Likely at plus 240.
Well, and the Bengals have given up a touchdown to a tight end in like the last 6 of the last 7 games. The game that they didn't was friggin' Likely fumbling it into the end zone. Also, just seeing Rashad Bateman out this week as well. So that could help Nick's DeAndre Hopkins bet, as well as Isaiah Likely for a touchdown. I'm looking at the Titans and the 49ers game. Raybon, you actually gave out this pick on the Touchdown Show podcast, and I was in full lockstep with you. That's Jawan Jennings. He's around 2 to 1 right now. He's got 5 touchdowns this year, but he's scored in 4 of the last 5 games. I think he's the clear wide receiver 1 in this offense over Ricky Pearsall. And the Titans, we talk about how bad their run defense is. Their pass defense has not been great either. They've allowed an opposing wide receiver 1 to score in 6 of their last 7 games, play a lot of zone coverage, 2 high safety. And the thing about Jennings is, man, zone, it doesn't really matter. He leads the team in targets per route run or touchdowns versus those coverages. So with the Niners offense kind of starting to hum again, get back healthy, I'm just going to keep on banking on Jennings to score more touchdowns. So Raybon, let's kick it up a notch. I believe you actually gave out this prop in the opening segment for this guy.
Yeah, so we went with Ferguson on his receiving yardage to open. Let's go with him for a touchdown at 7 to 1 as well. I have him with close to 1 expected touchdown just last week alone. Again, he's getting deep targets down the field, and against a defense like Detroit, they play a lot of man coverage and they play single high. Now, usually that's not good for tight ends, but Ferguson is a very athletic tight end, kind of like a wide receiver, which is why his ADOT is, 20 yards down the field. So he can beat those kind of coverages. He'll be matched up with linebackers a lot in space. So again, I know his game logs have been ugly as hell, but he could erupt for a big game anytime. So I kind of want to get ahead of that here. So let's go with Ferg at 7-1.
All right, Terrence Ferguson 7-1. This guy, Raybon, we gave him out on the Touchdown Show podcast, and once we knew that T. Higgins was out, we were all over it. It's Mitchell Tinsley. You can get him around like plus 425 right now. And the last time that we saw either Jamar Chase or T. Higgins out of the lineup, that's when we want Tinsley because we know he's going to line up mostly on the outside and replace those guys. And we want him over somebody like Andre Yoshivas because Yoshivas typically lines up in the slot probably 70 to 80% and doesn't really see much of a target bump when either of those guys miss time. So, and I believe you call him a professional touchdown catcher. That's basically what you've defined him as right now as a skill set. So it only takes like one throw from Joe Burrow, you know what I mean, to make a spectacular catch. He's done it 3 times this year if we count the preseason game. So Mitchell Tinsley at 4-1 is who I'm looking at. This guy that you have next, I will fully admit. I was not aware that he was active or on the roster. So please tell me, who is your spicy touchdown bet of the week?
I mean, you said spicy, right? So we're gonna go with Jawhard Jordan, 30-1. If you don't know who he is, he's a running back who's been on the practice squad of the Texans for a couple of years now. He was a mid-round draft pick, I believe, of them a couple of years ago. And they've been kind of shuffling through running backs this week. They signed Cody Schrader. He practiced and then they cut him. Ended up going with Jordan. Nick Chubb's going to be out, so it looks like Jordan is active here. Braxton Berrios is inactive again. So Jordan might even get some return work, but remember that the Arizona Cardinals are terrible. They've only won one of Jacoby Brissett's start. So last week, Ronnie Rivers was gashing them late in the game. Jordan he's probably going to be the number 3 back. However, there's a chance that he ends up being the number 2 because Dare Ogunbowale, who randomly got that touchdown run last week, he never gets more than a carry in a game. He's always just been the passing down back. Like that was his only carry essentially in like weeks or something like that. So there's a chance here that Jordan, who's just been practicing with the team for a couple years, if they get up big, he could get like that Blake Corum kind of situation where he's just kind of running out the clock instead of Ogunbowale, who's I think more important to the team on special teams, passing downs and whatnot. So non-zero chance Jordan goes from like elevated at the 11th hour to in the end zone. So it's spicy, but we're going Jawhard Jordan 30-1.
Is that a full unit bet though?
Oh, let's do it. Come on. We want the 30 back. We want the 30 back. So how it is.
All right. Jawhard Jordan 30-1 spicy touchdown bet from Raybon. Also, I just pointing out, I'm seeing some more inactives come in. Trent McDuffie out this week for the Chiefs against the Chargers. That's a pretty big loss for their defense. I'm looking at this Saints Panthers game, Raybon. And I know we like Devon Vele, and I think that's somebody who I would like from a receiving standpoint, but I love Taysom Hill in this game. He's around plus 400. You can I'm laddering him as well to 40-1 for 2 touchdowns. Now, he hasn't had much success this year, but still leads the team in red zone carries despite missing 4 games. The Panthers, they ranked 27th in defensive DVOA versus the run, 16 rushing touchdowns allowed. They're bottom 5 in the NFL. And I know the Tyler Shuck assance, I know that like a guy like Nick Giffen, for example, he's on the under on his rushing yard prop. I think after we watched him ram for 2 touchdowns, I think just the odds now have swung too far against Taysom, where now I'm actually showing value on him. If he was around plus 250, I'd be like, no. But once we get over 4-1, especially because his odds last week in a much tougher matchup versus the Bucs were around plus 310. So I think just the upside is too good to ignore for somebody like Taysom Hill when you can get it at home against a poor run defense at 40-1, especially when there's precedent of him having 2-3 touchdown games in his career. So that's the spicy bet I'm going to make for this one. Now, we're going to do a touchdown show parlay. I should mention we had to pivot on this one pretty fast. So because we were going to do Gabe Davis as one of the legs. But so what we're going to do is we're going to do Juwan Jennings. We're going to do Isaiah Likely. But we're going to kind of do like a mini same game parlay within it with Mitchell Tinsley as well. So those 3 guys, if you parlay those 3, so that's Juwan Jennings, Isaiah Likely, Mitchell Tinsley. Right now I'm seeing 45-1, Bet365, 37-1 at DraftKings, 37-1 at FanDuel. Raybon, before we get out of here, what do you think of this parlay here as far as like just the vibes? Like how are we feeling about Jennings, Likely, Tinsley?
I like it. I heard Christian McCaffrey like random he was hurt. He was sick this week, and then he randomly popped up with a back injury. So who knows? Maybe San Francisco does throw the ball a little more in close. And then Likely and Tinsley, classic Ravens Bengals shootout that we've been seeing a lot of over these past few years.
Absolutely. All right. So those three, Juwan Jennings, Isaiah Likely, Mitchell Tinsley, 45-1 at Bet365 is the best odds I'm seeing out there right now. But if you want to tail that parlay, we just dropped a link in the YouTube chat. That's a quick slip link. It'll take you directly to the sportsbook, and you can build that bet slip out and tail that parlay responsibly. All right, that is all for us today. Action Playbook Live. We'll be back here every Sunday, as I like to mention, just until the Super Bowl at 11 a.m. Eastern. Now, if you missed the show and you want to get all of our picks, you could download the Action app because all of our bets are tracked there, and you can get pick notifications with Action Pro, so that way you don't miss a bet. So I want to thank everybody for watching Action Playbook Live for NFL Week 15. Bon chance.